let's talk about the real big brain of the AFC North, just leading it off with our man crush, Joe Burrow. I'll take a drink for that.
That's a drink.
Oh, man. So Joe Burrow, the question here posed, this was also, I should just say, Mike that did the show sheet again for us this week. Brilliantly done, as always, Mike. Really appreciate you taking that on. And you posed a question here. Is Joe Burrow in the Mahomes, Allen, Hurts tier? So we're talking about that top three of Mahomes, Allen, Hurts becoming a four-way and adding Joe Burrow into it. I mean, I want to pose this to Eric because I know Eric has really strong feelings about Burrow. I think we all kind of do, but Eric, I think, is fervent in his Burrow love. So where do you have him out of those four? Eric, is he your number 101 yet?
So are we talking like fantasy or are we talking NFL? Like
we're talking some dynasty fantasy football today. You know it.
Okay, then Joe Burrow is not 101. You have to have Mahomes 101 in dynasty. Like there's no other option. It's Mahomes. I guess if you want to make a slight argument, Josh Allen, just because of the rushing stuff. But I don't know. I don't think that's like sustainable, right? So, but no, in dynasty, Mahomes is 101. I think you can fight Allen and Burrow 102, 103, but I would put Burrow 102 personally. I really like Burrow. Allen 3, and then who was the fourth one?
Hurts. Did you just forget a player's name? I think that's a drink.
Is that a drink? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that works where you just drink, right? Yeah. I was about to take one and I was like, I just want a drink.
Personally, Hurts is 5, Lawrence is 4.
Ah, wow. Okay. I feel that. I was getting some I was seeing some stank looks over on Cash Money Mike's side of things. What do you think about that top 4 order from Eric?
Yeah. I posed this question because I thought there would be a really good discussion with it. Burrow has a play style that's going to stick around the league for a while. But when we talk about his ceiling for fantasy football, it's always going to be put down a little bit. And Ash agrees with me. He's barking from the other room. He is never going to run for more than 400 yards. Higgins could leave after this year. Like, I think we saw his ceiling this past year, and I would just rather like maybe have a shortened window, but have a higher ceiling with a Hurts, a Fields. Even like Lawrence has more rushing upside than Burrow does. But you can't go wrong with the top 8. I think they're all exceptional. And then 9 is Daniel Jones, so everything's good.
Well, do you think that there is that top 4, though? Do you think it is a 4 tier?
I think it's a top 3, maybe even top 2. Like, okay. It's Mahomes, Allen for me, and then it's Hurts, and then it's everyone else in like those next 5. So I guess it's like 2, then 1, then 5.
Okay, yeah, I think that Burrow is my 4 out of those 3 as well, and I think in that order too, Mahomes, Allen, Hurts. I think that would be mine, with Joe Burrow rounding it out.
If Burrow weren't super cool and super hot, and I'll drink for that in a second, would he be lower? Like he's kind of pushed up because he's like, he has the swagger, he's likable. Like his fantasy football finishes haven't been exceptional. He's just hot.
There might be a little bit of that for some people, but even though his like overall finish isn't great, I feel like he has those like game-winning weeks where he can go out there and he can toss in 4 to 5 touchdowns and put up like 35, 40 points and win you a fantasy week. So I feel like that is some of his appeal as well. He's maybe a little less steady, but he definitely booms.
So in redraft, I 100% agree with you guys. Burrow is maybe 5 or 6, right? Like he's down there. In Dynasty, I disagree because I think Burrow is going to last such a long time with the way that he plays football. He's going to have that Brady-like 18-year career that you're constantly going to be able to throw him in there and be comfortable with it. You're never going to have to trade him. He's always going to produce, and he's going to be awesome. Hurts and Allen, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, will outperform Burrow fantasy-wise. But what happens when the legs start going? What happens when the rushing starts tailing off? I already think we're seeing it a little bit with Allen. I'm not saying he's like stopping, but like the coaches are like, hey, we can't let our guy keep getting hit. He needs to throw more, right? So I think if you took the rushing away from Hurts and Allen, they're instantly below Burrow. So 3 to 5 years, if you're in a 3 to 5 year window, yeah, I'm taking Allen and Hurts over Burrow. But if we're talking dynasty 15 years, Oh my gosh, Burrow is going to be in the league so much longer than those two. Because Burrow stands in the pocket and throws the football. He's going to have a Brady-like career. Not saying he's going to win like 7 Super Bowls, but like Brady-like from every year he's going to be a top 5 to 10 fantasy quarterback for the next 15 years.
I just want to say that I think that I agree with you for the most part with what you're saying, Eric. I think his longevity is really good. He'll be very good for a long time. I think what you have to still keep in mind, though, is how long are your dynasty leagues going to be around for? Are they going to be around for 15 years?
That's a good point.
Because if so, I mean, that's awesome, but I feel like that's very rare. And so it almost does become a thing where, like, yeah, do I want the guy that's going to be around for 10 good years, or do I want the guy that's going to be like a top 3 for the next 3 to 5 because his rushing's really good, but he might fall off a cliff after? I think that's kind of what you have to contend with. And
I totally agree with that too, but I also like the probability that Burrow stays healthy more than Hurts and Allen.
I think that's a fair point. Okay, well, Mike, did you take your drink? You said something favorable about Joe Burrow. I just want to make sure we're all playing by the rules.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, well, let's move on because we got some more stuff to talk about. I guess we can get right into the Higgins versus Chase at cost argument. Mike, you mentioned that Higgins you think might be gone. I mean, he could be gone, right? They have to sign him to a new deal after the season, or they lose him. Could they franchise tag him?
They could, but it would be really hard to push him under the cap with all that because they have too many guys to pay.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, to me personally, yeah, it becomes Higgins at cost just by default because Chase is hard to get. Like, trade for him, that's borderline impossible. And drafting him, I mean, we're talking about the pick right after all the QBs go. So you're going to take him over one of those top 7 QBs. It's kind of difficult to do so. But if you have that 108, he's usually the first selection. So I want to hear what you think about this, Mike. I just took Higgins actually in a draft that we're doing right now. I was pretty happy stacking him with Burrow because I am actually of the belief that they will re-sign Higgins. I'm of the hopeful belief that they have him and Chase long-term with Burrow at the helm. But give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think it is more likely than not that Higgins stays. I'm just saying it's in the realm of possibilities that he could leave. When we talk about like Higgins versus Chase, Chase is viewed as an untouchable dynasty asset that you have to use a first round pick. And Higgins, I got him in like the 3rd round of a 14-team league recently. So like in the 40s range. They have the same upside week to week. They have the same quarterback. They have like Chase is more talented, but Higgins is extremely talented. So I think if he goes anywhere else, the situation will improve because he doesn't have to compete with Chase. If the situation remains the same, he's still tied to Joe Burrow, which is amazing for everybody. So
yeah, I love the dichotomy actually of him being next to Chase. I feel like that creates this like steel on steel, like sharpening almost where they're going to be challenging each other. And I don't know if it's going to be overall like safe to say, by the end of this season, which one is like immensely more talented between the two. I think that after this season, we might be looking at it a little differently as them being sort of like 1A, 1B, because they do have like different games a little bit. But yeah, okay. I definitely feel you. The cost is there for me too, taking it a little later.
Real quick, total side tangent throw in based on conversation that happened earlier today. Name your top 5 dynasty wide receivers.
Oh, me right now?
All of us.
I do it. Okay.
I'll go first if you guys want to think a little bit.
Yeah, you go first because you posed the question.
Okay. So number 1, I think, is obviously JJ. I think JJ is number 1. 2, I would go Adams, even at his age. 3, I would go Chase. 4, I would probably go probably Waddle. And then 5, I would go
Hey, Mike, do we drink when Eric says something stupid, or does he? Because I feel like we have.
Yeah, I think we do. And
right?
I'm going to be drinking a lot tonight.
Adam's number 2, man.
Yeah. I think he's got 3 top 5 receiver years left in him.
Okay. I mean, I don't hate that. I have a lot of Adams, so I like you saying that. But oh boy, I think for me, I honestly, I think I have Chase number 1. Because again, I think I'm just really tied to that Burrow Chase stack, and I think Jefferson, he's awesome, we just don't know what's going to happen after Kirk Cousins, right? And the end of Kirk Cousins could be after this season. It could be, I don't know. I have no idea what to expect from them if they don't retain Kirk Cousins. So that's a little scary to me, but I view them very 1A, 1B. So it's, Chase Jefferson 1-2. And then, I mean, I guess for me, it's probably AJ Brown with his like game break ability tied with Hurts. I really like AJ Brown in Philadelphia, so I think I'm putting him 3. 4 for me, I think is Amon-Ra, because I think he's a studly stud, and the Lions built right. They built a really strong O-line that's going to keep Jared Goff protected, and Jared Goff with protection is a really, really good quarterback. 5, I could maybe put Adams there. He's old. That's tough for me. I think that's where I probably have Garrett Wilson, and maybe Adams a couple picks after that. But Garrett Wilson just has this chance with Aaron Rodgers to be ultra awesome, like even more awesome somehow than he was last year. So that's I think where I have him.
Real quick, I'm kicking out Tyreek Hill and putting AJ Brown in. I forgot about AJ Brown.
You can't forget about AJ Brown. You have to drink for that.
Yep. I'm kicking out Tyreek. I got Brown at 5.
You forgot AJ Brown's name. You have to drink for that. All right, Mike. I want to get your top 5 next.
Yeah. Same conversation with the top 2. If anybody tries to argue somebody else in there, like they've probably gone too far into the sloppy cast. For me, it's Chase and then JJ, just because of the quarterback security. And then like the upside weeks, we've seen like Chase just be able to explode. And then like JJ set all these records and Chase is just going through and like rewriting them. And receivers are due for a big year 3 breakout, and he's already setting records. So I'm a little like scared as a Steelers fan to see what Chase does. For me, 3 is CeeDee Lamb. Super young, super talented, tied to a good quarterback. Maybe not great, but like gets the job done and has job security. 4, AJ Brown. Ash agrees. He's very excited about this podcast.
Hell yeah, Ash.
And then 5, I have Jalen Waddle. What I like to do when I'm talking about like dynasty rankings, I'll kind of weigh redraft ADP and then age, and then whether I think the ADP is correct or not. Like Waddle's going in the top, 12 to 15 receivers in redraft right now. And he's super young, and his situation can only get better as long as Tua doesn't end up in a mental state. So I think there's a lot of value to be had in the second tier of receivers. Check me out, Last Word on Sports. I wrote an article on dynasty rankings, and it's broken down by tiers. That way, like, you guys laugh at me every time we're in a draft together. I'm always like, hey, I'm open to trade back. That means that I like pulled open my tiers, realized there's plenty, and then I'm like, oh, I'll slide back. And everybody's like, we know. Of course you will.
I think you should just change your team name to the Slide Back, because it's definitely your thing there. But okay, I think that's very respectable. Waddle for me is still a little scary with Hill there, but
by the way, I disagree that Dak has job security. I think if Tom Brady wanted to unretire and come to the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones would bench him in an instant or trade him.
Damn it.
Tom Brady.
Are you doing this to make us drink, or are you doing this because you're actually that?
Dead serious.
Cheers, Mike.
100. I'll even drink with it. 100%.
So you agree that it was? So Eric agrees that it was stupid because he drank.
No, 100% Jerry Jones would start Tom Brady over Dak Prescott tomorrow. Not even a question.
All right. That sounds like a lucid dream.
No, it is not. 100% that would happen tomorrow.
Holy moly. All right. Let's move on. I like this question. Is Irv a thing? And I had to double take this one and go, Irv? I really had to think about it. And then I was like, oh, Irv Smith is there. He is the tight end 1, I guess. I don't know when that happened for the Bengals. But he is there. Takes the Hayden Hurst role. Any interest in Irv Smith, Eric?
No.
Mike, any interest in Irv Smith?
For free, yes. If I have to pay anything, no.
He seems really like a guy that's, if you've been in a dynasty league for a couple of years now, he's like immensely rostered, it feels like. And I haven't really tried very hard. I've tried a couple times just kind of poking and prodding, and it seems like people still want like a second for him. And it's like, that's just not gonna happen. So he doesn't really seem super acquirable.
Yeah, with Irv, it's going to be 4 years from now, if like Sam Laporta or Michael Mayer don't work out, like same level of thing. People spent like a really high second on them. They still believe in them. Tight ends take a while to work out because the Vikings spent a second round real NFL draft pick on Irv Smith. So when you look at that, and then also you look at Fantasy Pros, the points scored, Hayden Hurst scored 166 points. That looks like tight end 21. I think if you add like a touchdown or two, all of a sudden he's a top 12 tight end because tight ends stink. And if you talk about Irv inheriting the Hayden Hurst role, like maybe it goes better, maybe it goes worse. I have to drink because I think that was 30 seconds. But Irv is not a thing, but it could be a thing.
You definitely do. Oh, wait, do you drink or do we have to drink if you ran for 30 seconds?
I'll drink for rambling, and it'll make the rambling worse.
All right. That sounds like a plan. Okay. Yeah, I feel you. He goes to, I mean, if they can utilize him, he goes to a good spot. He's had a really bad luck of injury string. That's definitely for sure. So maybe he stays healthy and can carve out a role there. Before we move on from Irv, I do just want to go back and say, going back to our Higgins v. Chase argument, if Higgins does leave, does that make the Seattle Seahawks the best receiving group in the NFL? And I will drink.
Cheers.
That was intentional.
It sure was. I needed a drink. But actual question, do you guys agree? Like, they seem like they have the best receiving group if T. Higgins leaves the Bengals.
Nope, the Bears do.
All right. You have to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this isn't even trying to like be a homer. I'm wearing a Steelers jersey, but if Deontay gets the respect he deserves, Pickens takes a step forward. Alvin Robinson returns to form. Calvin Austin's the fastest man on the planet.
Did you just hear what you said? If Allen Robinson returns to form, you should have to finish your drink for saying that. That's disgusting.
I'll finish my Yingling, and it's not disgusting because it's Yingling. Cheers to Pennsylvania and America.
Corey, who's worse? Me or Mike on that one? Whose take's worse? Me or Mike?
Whose take is worse? Whose take is worse?
Yeah, can we make that the question after the pod? Whose receiving core is better, Pittsburgh or?
Yeah, I will ask
Chicago?
that question. I think yours. Oh, that is really tough. I need to think about that one. I'll come back to you guys.
Are we including tight ends?
They're down.
No, I wasn't. I was not.
Tight ends catch passes. They receive things.
No, receiver.
I was not including that because then you'd also have Najee Harris and the argument would be over.
Exactly.
Correct.
We're just talking wide receiver room. And I need to think about it. DJ Moore is the best receiver out of the bunch. I will say that. That's what I think. Deontay Johnson probably close second, but I almost think George Pickens could be even better than Deontay Johnson.
DJ might be number one, but the Steelers definitively have 2 and 3. Like
I wouldn't say definitively.
Claypool was the third receiver on the Steelers, and now he's the number 2.
Mooney.
I think Mike is right. Okay, we're devolving. We're devolving here. We need to get back on track. We're talking about
Semper. Let's go.
we will keep on keeping on. But this is an interesting argument, and I will pose it for the podcast question so people can answer that because I think it's an interesting argument. Okay, let's all starting with Mike because I think that's who I talked to last. It's getting hard to remember, guys. Who is your favorite Joe Mixon backup? If he gets suspended, or even if he doesn't, just as a guy to hold, as the guy that could take a lot of snaps for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Does Samaje Perine still count?
He is on the Denver Broncos.
I know, but he's still a great option. No, if Mixon doesn't play, I think it's probably Chase Brown. The like Travion Williams and the Chris Evans thing, like it's been an ongoing storyline for a while, and like I think if the Bengals felt comfortable with those guys, they would have let Mixon walk by now. The fact that they haven't means that they're like still looking for a replacement. Maybe it's Chase Brown. What do you think?
Yeah, I like you, Mike. You say the good words make Corey happy. Yes, Chase Brown, agree. I think that he's clearly the most athletic of the guys on that roster. He caught like almost 30 passes, I think, in his last year of college, which
Yeah.
was a long tenure at college. I think he was in college for like 4 or 5 years. But
Yep.
looking past that, I mean, he got the receptions. He got like 250 receiving yards. So yeah, I mean, combine all that. I think the only knock on him is he fumbled quite a lot. But I think that's a thing that can be worked out. Given some NFL training, I think it's possible.
He fumbled, and he also looked like, from beat reporters at the Senior Bowl, the nicest way to describe it is like a pile of garbage. Like, just put shoulder pads on one of us and put us out there. Like, we would have looked like Chase Brown. So,
Wow.
Eric, who is your favorite Joe Mixon backup?
Yes, Chris Evans.
Boo. We were almost a triplet. We almost had the same take.
Maybe. I don't know. Do we even care about the Bengals running back crew? Like, I don't even know if I care about Joe Mixon at this point.
I mean, Joe Mixon wasn't he still like a top 12 back?
Yep, top 12. There's points to be had regardless of who it is.
Yeah, he was RB10.
Because Joe Burrow's hot.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Joe Mixon is also like a good running back. Oh, God. Yeah. All right.
Don't you mean Joey De La Cruz?
No. Joe Mixon is also like a good running back, though. He's getting up there in years, but he's still talented. And I think he's like, I don't even think it's really a comparison. I think he's much more talented than Chase Brown or any other running back on that team. So if Joe Mixon is in, I think you kind of want Joe Mixon, especially because he's like kind of at a discount with all of his legal stuff. I still think he's a good value. But if we're thinking like the guy behind him in case he gets injured or suspended, which given his legal troubles could happen, Chase Brown, I like his chances compared to the others. I like his chances. He's the rookie. They might give him a couple looks just to see what they have. And even if he looked like a big pile of doo-doo garbage, he has numbers that prove should be very athletic.
I want you guys to pour yourselves a little shot, and we'll do the RIP to Zach Charbonnet had gone to the Bengals.
I will cheers. I wish he would have. That would have been tight.
If Charbonnet here, I have whiskey in here.
If Charbonnet had been on the Bengals.
Oh my God. If Charbonnet had landed on like 28 other teams, think about how good he would have been.
Can you imagine if he'd been on the Bengals though?
He got day 2 draft capital on a run first team, and we cannot draft him in the first round without getting criticized. And I hate fantasy football for this reason.
I feel your pain. It's my home team, man. We did it to ourselves. I did it to myself. It is painful, but at least
Pete Carroll just thought he was in a dynasty draft, and he just kept going.
Pete Carroll isn't an absolute slayer of dynasty dreams, but I love my team so much, and I love our running backs. We got some good ones. All right.
Carroll's 100% in the Devy League, and the person who won the league last year took Charbonnet with a future pick, and he wanted to screw them over. 100%.
Are they allowed to play?
They are.
Really?
Money's not involved, probably.
Yeah, I think you're allowed to. Because there was the clip where Cam Newton was like, "Hey, DJ, I have you in fantasy. What should I do with him?" Or Steve Smith was talking to Cam Newton about it.
Has to be free leagues then, right? Has to be.
Yeah, yeah, and we only play in free leagues.
Well, Maurice Jones-Drew would play every year, and he would take himself first overall every year.